guys, welcome to another. Wait, actually, yes. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of PG Comics. I'm Mark Bridge, and I'm here with Zach Worsner,
That's me.
and we're here continuing our talk about Batman. Right, Batman. Scott Snyder's Batman, and I think we're doing issues. What are we doing? Issue 13 or 12?
Uh,
13 to
well, Zero and some other ones.
and 12 to 18, I think. No, 12 to 17 or
Yeah,
11 to 17. It's one
the
of them.
death of the family.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, this story is very Joker centric, and I gotta say, right? And I've noticed this. I mean, I wouldn't say like I read almost every issue of Batman. Not even close. But anytime there's sort of a major writer that hops on board, I think one of the things that they always do is at some point they'll do a Joker story. It's like a rite of passage for all uh, Batman writers. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do other stories. I'll touch on this and touch on this, but then this is my Joker story, and they all have sort of different interpretation of Joker. Whether they wanted to be a really funny dude or really like smart guy who outsmarts Batman and all that stuff. But Scott Snyder, I feel he wanted to make a scary Joker. This is like a dark Joker that's just ultra scary.
The face is scary.
Yeah, right. The only drawback to Scott's story is that he never got to do the face peeling part. That actually happened in Detective Comics issue 1 when the whole new DC 52 started.
Yeah,
So,
that was something I had heard about.
yeah.
Like I had seen, the headlines of like the new Joker doesn't have a face, and I saw like the comic
Yeah.
cover. And then when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh boy, here we go!" And then it's like, "Oh no, it already happened."
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I guess that was a Grant Morrison thing or something.
No, it was I forgot who was writing
Yeah, some other
Detective
guy.
Comics at the time. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that it wasn't like if you were just picking up this omnibus that I have and you're reading through and then you're like, wait, why doesn't he have a face? I mean, it doesn't. It says, what's his name? Dollmaker did it, but it's like it'll be cool to see it happen, and you can see it happen if you pick up Detective Comics issue 1. But it's like you already invested in this big book, or you're already reading this. However you're reading it, like on digital or something like that. I mean, it's probably easy to just click and go to Detective, but it's like breaks up the flow.
And I'll
Right?
probably end up doing that tonight. Like, I've been reading the crossover issues for the last story, Night of the Owls.
Yeah.
I actually got distracted because I read All Star Western, where it crosses over in Jonah Hex's day.
Right.
But I wound up liking it so much that I've been reading a bunch of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, at some point I have to go back and read the rest of the Bat family crossovers.
Right.
And now I've got to look around for Detective Comics #1.
Yeah. I mean, it should be easy on your app.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if it goes by keywords, just type in new DC 52 as well with it. I don't know if it goes by keywords.
It kind of does, but it's a real hit or miss thing. I guess when they went through archiving however many thousands of issues are in this,
Right.
they were kind of like, some of them are going to be a lot easier to find than others.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a hassle, but that's why I've got you.
Right. But yeah, so jumping on the story, I guess we'll start with issue 0, which I think plays more of a prequel to 0 Year than it does this. Even though you could tell by the guy in the hood that's supposed to be early Joker.
Mm-hmm.
But it does get called back once the story gets going. That Joker's basically taking Batman through their history together from the first time they battle, I guess, with the whole acid thing from his birth, I guess, of Joker to other incidents throughout their history together. So I guess if you were to read issue 0 and then accompany with this, then you kind of get that context. But the way how issue 0 ends, at least the first, because there's a backup story as well, which is very touching. It just shows like all the sort of Bat family, I guess, also tie it into. I guess
Yeah,
that's
I
why they
thought.
place it. I guess that's why they place it there, because you get to see the Bat family sort of their inception of like how seeing Batman affected
Yeah,
them.
on the night that they first unveiled the bat signal.
Yeah. So
And I actually really liked that half of. I think I like that half of the issue more than like early Bruce Wayne failing
yeah,
at stuff.
yeah.
Um, and they showed like a little bit of the Batcave, but I was kind of hoping for like a proto Batsuit kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing going on. But I guess they've probably done that to death.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think you see more in once 0 year pops off.
okay.
But this, I think it plays more like a prequel. At least the first half of the story, because it kind of ends with a cliffhanger that never gets resolved unless there's a missing page, and like where it so Batman basically the story starts. The Red Hood gang, or the Red Hood Five or whatever, uh, are about to rob a bank, and then the whole the leader, who seems to be Joker, kind of tells everyone that they got to be quiet, blah blah blah, but in a more clever way than I do. I can't remember his exact phrasing, but it's very clever. And then the Bat manager still wants to run his mouth, and the leader tells one of the hood members, knock this guy out, and boom, and then the guy says, "Oh man, my gun is not working," or something. Oh, he says, "Get rid of him." And he says, "Oh," and he knocks him out. He said, "Oh man, this guy broke my gun." And he says, "Don't worry, have mine." And he takes it, and I guess this guy's hesitant to shoot, but Joker's wise to him and realizes that, oh, you're not even the guy who I hired, because that guy's left-handed and you're not left-handed, and so that means you're a cop. Turns out it's Batman in disguise, and Batman barely escapes, and he rides his bike in the cave, and tells Alfred open the back door. So I guess he has different entrance to the cave from different points, which we kind of knew from the Court of Owls storyline.
Mm.
And so when Batman gets there, he's like living in a brownstone. I think this is kind of like Scott Snyder taking influence from the Batman movies with that Nolan did, because he's not at a mansion. He feels haunted by the mansion because his parents died. So he was like, I don't want to even go there. So he's living in a brownstone. Uh, but he's very sloppy, because I think at that point, Jim Gordon pays a visit and says, "Hey, one of the members of the company is, probably doing illegal stuff." And Bruce is like, "Yeah, I can't help you with that." And it says, "By the way, there's a new vigilante with some high tech equipment. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" And this is because like this vigilante appears just as Bruce comes back, who has been gone for like 4 years. They said 4 or 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
And he's trying to put two and two together, like maybe you have either you're I don't think he was like saying that you're the guy, but he's thinking because of Bruce Wayne's money, whoever is the guy, he's probably fronting the bill for him to get high-tech equipment. And this conversation happens on top of the brownstone where Bruce was testing a batarang that can retract in depending on how much time it gives it, and he basically gave it a 4 minute. So they had 4 minutes to have that conversation, and by the time they get on the elevator to go back down, the 4 minutes was up. So it was like right on time when it came back. So it's kind of like a tense moment, and then it ends with the Red Hood gang in front of Bruce Wayne's brown place, and it says, "We're gonna blow it up, boys," and it ends there. Did it end there for you? Because like I said,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
Is that gonna be in 0 year?
I take it, 'cause like I said, I started 0, I just didn't finish it. That's where I kind of stopped. So I think it because I know the Red Hood gang are in 0 year, so I think it continues there. Um,
Yeah, and then that Robin story or Bat Family story. That's the
yeah,
back half of that issue.
yeah,
As far as I know, that's the first thing in this whole story that we're reading that's not written by Scott Snyder.
Yes, was it John what's his name?
Man, Joe.
Uh, I need to get it because I never fully get his name. It's like I see his name, but it never sticks in my brain for some reason.
But it's interesting because it's effective to me personally because I don't know these characters necessarily.
Right.
Um, even though he doesn't have anything for Damien, but it also, it shines an extra spotlight of like, oh, this is only 5 years. In 5 years, he's gonna burn through how many Robins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, James Tinian, the fourth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he usually writes the backup stories and sometimes co-write with Scott. So yeah, the story pretty much wrote was like I said, a very interesting kind of setup for the death
Yeah,
in the family, death of
it,
the family.
it's like it's a really good snapshot, like a primer for people who don't necessarily know these characters. Of
Yeah,
like, this is who this one is. This is the difference between
yeah.
I mean, if you ask any like old person or
Mm-hmm.
any like that's not nice, old person. Anyone who's like not super familiar with Batman, they're
Right.
like, "What? There's more than one Robin?" Or like, "Oh, Robin, Dick Grayson. Yeah, he's
Right.
been a kid for 60 years or 70 years, 80 years." And it's like, no, 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 man, that's not that Robin. No, it's
Yeah.
it's a thing you always have to explain to people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In fact, that was actually one of the first stories that I wrote for Screen Rant, like in 2016 or 2017, was weird things that you always have to explain to non-comic fans, and one of them was like,
Mm-hmm.
"That's Robin. That's also Robin. He's not Robin anymore. He
Right.
used to be Robin." It's like, yeah,
Yeah, and that's the thing with DC characters. Well, most of them. I mean, some Marvel characters got away with it, like Thor. For a while it was like this. I forgot his name, Eric or some crap. This blonde-haired dude became Thor. Masterson, whatever. Eric Masters, I think his
yeah.
name
But
was.
they usually,
Yeah,
at least for a time, are different
yeah,
characters.
and then Rhodey, I think at one point became Iron Man. Uh, um, yeah, not too many swappages happened.
Hmm.
But in the DC comics, it's like a thing, right? It's like you had Green Lantern, which is Alan Scott, which is more magic based, and then you had Hal Jordan, and then you had Guy Gardner, and then John Stewart, and then Kyle Rayner. So it was like a thing, and then Flash, there was Jay Garrick, there was Barry Allen, and there was Wally West, and then now it's back to Barry Allen. But yeah, it's like a normal thing. The only person that's never really been switched all that's if you don't count the reign of the Superman, is Superman, right?
Yeah.
Or Wonder Woman. Well, actually, no. There has been a switch with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I actually one
Uh,
of the stories that I read about Wonder Woman was she gets challenged by another Amazon,
yeah,
and then she loses, and she becomes Wonder Woman, but then gets killed like an issue later.
yeah, like I think either it was Donna Troy or Artemis that became Wonder Woman at one point. I think Artemis became Artemis.
I don't remember the name.
I think yeah. So it was some red hair chick. It was like uh, uh, she's always showed up in like different variations. She was in the Wonder Woman movie, but she was black in that one and big diesel. In the animated movie, Rosario Dawson voiced her. So I think that character became Wonder Woman at that point. So yeah, I think the only person that's never really been replaced has been Superman.
Hmm.
So that's interesting.
There was one other thing in this storyline that I didn't understand continuity-wise, and you've explained it to me before, but what is Batman Incorporated?
Like okay, so I probably
Give me
did
the
mention.
short version.
Yeah, I probably did mention this to you too. So it's like I've never really read a Batman Incorporated comic, but I did. I was around when it was happening. And as a matter of fact, it's supposed to be the third book in a trilogy of Grant Morrison's saga. I have the first two. So Batman went through some stuff, got his son. Then he later died, and then Dick Grayson became Batman, and then Bruce Wayne became back. And I guess what he did was he took as Bruce Wayne, he funded a sort of organization with Batman across the globe. So you had a Batman in sort of different locations. So I think that's what it is. So yes, this storyline mentions Incorporated. Thankfully, it didn't do too much with it because again, you would have to, if it was so important or intricate to it, then you would be like, oh man, so that does that mean I have to go to Grant Morrison's? Because Grant Morrison is not an easy author to read, man. He's sometimes, I see most of the times, I think his simplest storyline that he's ever told was X-Men, and even then it was so drastically different than the X-Men we've grown up with that it wasn't appreciated until later in life. Like some people were super excited about, oh wow, this is a brand new thing. X-Men is never like that, right? But then I think after a few months of it, they were like, oh man, I wish the Hispanics would come back. What's happening, right? Because he was kind of like emulating the movies where they had like a sort of uniform, right? They all looked pretty much the same. It was like they took on the black and yellow pattern, but it was more, like I said, it was less spandexy and costumey, and more like we're soldiers or a special tactics force or something like that. And his run on X-Men, in retrospect, was an awesome run. But he's not a very easy author to follow. Like he's sometimes like he's probably thinking of multiple levels, and he'll bring on those levels in one issue that makes no sense until like 10 issues down the line. You're like, oh, okay, that's what. But the thing is, by the time you get to the 10th issue of whatever arc he was running on, you don't remember those first things. You didn't know he planted the seeds.
Right, unless you read them all at once.
Exactly.
Or read them twice.
Exactly.
Wait, so what's Batman Incorporated?
Just, I guess, his version of the Avengers.
But they're all Batman?
But they're all Bat people.
Not like the regular Bat family, just kind of like...
Yeah, like characters you never... Like, there was Batwing, which was his first introduction. I think it's Lucius Fox, son, I believe.
From Batwoman.
There's Batwoman, I think. You know what? Let me look it up because I want to sound like an idiot here. Batman Incorporated, and I think the main villain of that was Talia. Incorporated.
But is it like, well, because this story says that Bruce Wayne himself is like openly part of it.
Yeah. He as in public face, he funded it, right? So it's his way of sort of almost covering him. Yeah. It's like, so it doesn't look strange that he's like nobody can say, oh, he's Batman. He's just like a front. Like, okay, yes, this is me publicly trying to create this organization. So yeah, Batman Incorporated has Nightwing, Robin, Red Hood, Red Robin, Oracle, Batwoman, and Batwing. I think King Bat and Night Runner. Don't know any of these dudes, but yeah.
So it's just another excuse to have more comics.
Yeah,
like it's
and it was
it's especially Incorporated,
and it was basically Grant Morrison's sort of wrap up to his saga. This is where he was leading to when he jumped on board. Like,
I haven't read any Grant Morrison, right? I don't think so.
No. You would have to go. I mean, once we finish this, if we go to the stuff.
I'll probably jump. I mean, because I'm reading some other stuff. Although I actually haven't read anything else this week except for some All-Star Western.
Okay.
But I'll probably find something that he's written. See if he's done a Superman story.
Oh yes, so that he did. He was on Action Comics when it rebooted. Action Comics 1 to I believe 10, I think.
Wait, did he do Man of Steel?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, so he took over Action Comics, which again in itself it didn't feel very Superman. It felt very Grant Morrison, right? It's I think he wanted to sort of tap into what Superman was from the very first Action Comics, because there was a big his comic. I think it was a cover. Either it was a cover or one of the panels where it sort of emulated the famous him lifting the car, and he had just he didn't have the suit on in his version. He had just like a shirt, a blue shirt with the S and pants on, and he didn't fly. He just jumped really high in his version. And this was supposed to like take place 5 years prior to the new DC 52 happening,
Right.
until he later caught up. Like his story was behind what George Perez was writing, because George was writing Superman currently, and his action comic was taking 5 years in the past.
Okay.
But again, it was super weird, especially when that guy, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know him from Supergirl.
Yeah, that character shows up, and in the fourth dimension, he just got completely weird. It was like, yeah, buddy, I don't know. So he didn't last very long in that comic book, but yeah, he's a very difficult read sometimes, but rewarding once you get it. You know.
He wrote A Serious House on Serious Earth, which is one of the only things that I've wanted to read that's not on DC Universe.
Oh, and he also did write Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham Asylum. It was like a one issue, one shot, I believe, or maybe it was a couple of issues, but yeah, it's a very dark story. All right, so then now we jump into Death of the Family, which again deals with a darker, more dangerous Joker.
Dark, dangerous, and it doesn't start very strong for me.
Really?
I kind of didn't like it at first.
How did it begin again? It's
with Joker killing all the cops in
cops.
the station.
Yeah. He
Or
just
it's
walked
like
in the
where
station.
Jim Gordon is the only guy in the whole police force with a flashlight.
Yeah.
And like Joker is suddenly capable of like beating people. Like beating people in hand-to-hand combat. Kind of like never felt like it was his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it is comics and.
Well, I mean, the thing is, but you said you didn't like the way it started. He did mention, was it Batman or Jim Gordon did mention that, oh, this is not something he normally does.
Yeah, they does say that, but it's just weird. Like Gotham's finest, they're like, oh no, Joker, don't kill me, and it's like, are none of you armed?
Right.
And so I thought that was like kind of silly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he kills all the other people later, the mayor's guys.
Yeah.
You know, like no one seems to care. Like, oh, it's Joker. It's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many people has he killed at this point? I mean, it's kind of the always the problem with Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, like halfway through, it gets much better.
Right.
But I feel like the first half, even though I haven't read that many Joker stories, it feels very much like a retread of just every Joker story across film and TV and comics and cartoons that we kind of already know.
Right.
But they're like, ooh, but this time he's worse. He's badder. And it's like, if it wasn't for the face, which I actually really liked,
Right.
I probably would be kind of bored.
Right.
And I like the face very much.
Yeah. It did add a little sort of Jigsaw-esque look to him. But yeah, I guess only because I know that, especially at the time when the story was happening, they kind of built this up as a more edgier Joker. It's just funny, right? Because you did mention how he's like a lot more deadlier in this, and I don't think at the time, well, I know for a fact at the time that this wasn't on the mind of any writers who were writing on a certain product, but the New 52 did take on a darker tone with most of its properties, and what they retroactively did once they did the whole rebirth thing and brought the DC universe as we knew it before the whole New 52 happened, was that they said there was some elements that once the whole Flashpoint situation and I think other elements start to interfere, was that one of the things that happened was the world was created but without love or some sort of like So that's why Superman was darker. That's why Batman's villains were darker. That's why like the no, it was Red Hood and the Outlaws had a more R-rated, edgier look to it, like
Comics are so
Starfire.
silly. Like
Yeah,
they make their backtracking
yeah,
canon.
yeah, right. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I was digging the whole because like I said, most of the time I did read Joker comics. He was never scary. He was more smart, more like it was more like Heath Ledger Joker. I wouldn't consider Heath Ledger Joker scary per
I
se.
do.
I mean,
A lot,
he was just more like chaotic, right? It was not
yeah.
necessarily scary. Like, oh my god,
But
this guy's
I guess
terrifying.
I have kind of the same problem with Ledger's Joker. Although it's more of a problem with Heath than it is here,
Mm-hmm.
where you actually do feel like like he's smart enough to do what he does.
Right.
And Heath Ledger's Joker is a little bit too much of a Mary Sue
Right.
for me, where he's just like, oh, I always have a plan. Oh, the subway car is going to come at this exact moment, or
Yeah.
not Skyfall, or but you know what I mean. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
getting
Yeah.
at. Uh, where oh, I meant to be captured by Gordon so that I could have a bomb in this guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I'll disarm the cop and kill everybody in the station. It's like, all right, it's time. Stop it,
Yeah.
too much. And which I get maybe it's supposed to be thematic because it's like the same thing about Batman where
Yeah.
he's knows everything because he's the greatest detective or whatever.
Yeah.
And so once they got over that bump of the first couple of issues, I think it really started picking up, and I appreciated Joker being scary, especially when they were leading into Arkham Asylum
Mm-hmm.
and everything with the very overt sexual tension between Batman and Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked where he's like almost welcoming the presence of emotion in Joker,
Yeah.
even when that emotion is his love for him,
Yep.
and he's like, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems again with each new writer taking on Joker, they're like, all right, I'm not gonna write a Joker story unless I have something interesting about the aspect of this Joker that has never been dealt with before. And I think Scott's idea was that he feels, well, Joker really doesn't care about any other thing in his life other than his relationship to Batman. And what was interesting too, he tried to flip it as well. Like, maybe Batman doesn't hate Joker. He actually loves and appreciates his tete-a-tete with him. Like, it kind of like feeds into him, right? Like, what is Batman without his villains? And his ultimate villain is Joker.
Yeah, Batman doesn't get to be who he is without the villain being who he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to strut and puff out his chest and show off his feathers unless he's got someone to show them to.
Yeah, and this storyline, especially, there was a backup issue that really toys with the idea that Batman is feeding off sort of this fear and worship of from his villains, right? Like, it
You
reminds
mean
me
the
of,
one after he gets knocked out?
was it that, or it was a backup issue where Joker kills like everyone in a church or something like that, and he's talking
Oh,
to
yeah.
Penguin, and he says these guys right here feed Batman because they fear him, and then they also just are dumb enough to consider to do organized crime. So Batman is like, I love this, right? And it reminded me of Neil Gaiman's American Gods, the book. I mean, there's some elements to it in the show. I didn't finish that show. I watched the first season, but the whole idea behind that story is that there's going to be a god for everything as long as there are people who worship or feeds it its attention. So there's a god for technology, there's a god for and then there's the old gods as well, like Odin and stuff, and they survived for a long time because back in the days people believed in those kind of deities, but now they're losing power because a lot of more people are more dependent on technological advancements than just spiritual stuff. So the gods of the technology, internet and television and stuff, they're getting power. They're stronger now because of the people. The people are feeding that to them. And then there's this one god who was pretty old. She was a very old god who fed off the love of the people. That's how she feasted. People just like would sacrifice. It's like, she's more of a sexual being, right? And just they would just even when they had sex, they would have sex in her honor. She fed off of that. But now, because people don't even know who she is anymore, she has to basically create a Tinder profile and actually, go on sort of Tinder dates and sort of like have the men admire her, and then she actually feeds on them. So it's just that reminded me of how what Joker's idea of Batman is, and I know Joker sprouts stuff all the time. Some may be true, some maybe not, and I just feel like it felt to me as if Scott Snyder himself was saying, yes, this is truly who Batman is, right? Like he feeds off of that energy.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely works that they use Penguin for that story
Yeah.
because he's the closest, like we've talked before, the closest to like a regular gangster
Yeah, yeah.
in Batman's Rogues Gallery without being too plain like the Falcones or the other ones, whatever their names are.
Yeah.
Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
Uh, they're kind of regular gangsters and they represent the generic underworld that Batman doesn't think twice about, but it probably spends every night that isn't an issue of the comic, he spends beating them up.
Yeah. So yeah, and I really dug that idea. And speaking of those villains too, like later on they did the whole Joker thing, not Joker, Two-Face thing, which I liked how Joker called him out. It's like, dude, you're just playing gangster, bro. You were a DA for how long? And then now all of a sudden acid is on your face and you just want to be a gangster, bro. We just pitied you. I love that. It's like everybody said, we just pitied you and let you do your thing, but really we thought you were pathetic, because it's like,
I feel like that's a call to Joker doesn't have anything to do with Harvey's transformation in the comics, right?
No,
like
no.
Dark Knight. I feel like that's a little bit of a nod towards the Dark Knight, where he doesn't, the fact that Harvey is different now is not of importance.
Right.
It's like as soon as he is different, then Joker is not interested anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he's always trying to get people to change.
Right.
To have their one bad day.
Yeah.
But then once they have it, he's like, all right, next person.
Yeah.
Like if he were to ever actually do that to Batman, what would he do then? It's great. It's like the Lost, the one that got away, the one you have a crush on, who, like, if she actually reciprocated the feelings, you'd be like, oh, well, now where's the chase?
Yep. So yeah, pretty much what Joker was doing is, that's why Two-Face was involved. He was kind of getting, and I kept thinking about like one of the first Batman movies I've ever watched, because I thought it was gonna be the actual Tim Burton version. So I recorded it, and when I watched it, it was the Adam West movie. But in that movie, pretty much all of the Rogues Gallery team up together. You had Catwoman, Joker, Riddler, so it kind of like felt that way, but like a darker version of it, I guess, where he's getting Penguin and Riddler and Two-Face to help him, I guess, get rid of Batman. And what was really surprising too was like Batman pretty much figured out somebody in Arkham is helping him, but he didn't know just on what level it was. But it turns out that every single person who works in Arkham who has a family is being blackmailed by Joker because of their families, right? And the people who don't have a family, they're pretty much locked up in Arkham.
Which is like a lot.
Yeah, so he transformed Arkham pretty much into a prison for the guards, including the guards that have to leave. It's like, oh yeah, you're a hostage, but you get to go home. It was like, that's nuts. And it was basically like a trap, I guess, for Batman, where he built like this throne, and he's trying to build a shrine to Batman for their time uh, go, being adversaries and stuff like that. And once he got him to the throne and he shocked him, he's taking him away for the next phase. And of course, the villains, the Two Face and Riddler, were like, "No, what are you doing? We need to come along with you and kill him right now." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." And he locks him up, and then he goes away. And that's where he calls out Two Face and pretty much like calls his bluff about the gun that he has in his he has on him. Which
Yeah, what's interesting is it's like a backup. It's technically a backup story,
Yeah.
but it's you
Yeah.
know it's set immediately after.
And those are the backup issues that I like. Sometimes I'll read a backup story that, like, yes, sometimes it has something to do with what the story was before, but it really just goes off of the beaten path and it stops the flow of the story. I prefer the backup issues that are sort of elevating the main story that you're reading. Whether it's like, okay, you saw a character in the main story that just shows up for panel or two, but did something important, and then the backup story kind of like fleshes that character out a little bit more to give you a better understanding of the character you just saw. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you're gonna see the character again. You know what I'm saying? I like those kind of backup issues, and this one that's really like it followed to the
I
point
like
where.
that,
Go ahead.
or at least some kind of like thematic connection, like Tales from the Black Freighter, which isn't really but
Yeah.
But like I've been reading All Star Western, and the backup stories are kind of like backdoor pilots for other things,
Mm-hmm.
like Doctor 13, who I had never heard of until then,
Mm-hmm.
and oh shoot, this other guy who's like a Western Casanova type, who's very lucky and just wandering around. I forget what his name is, but he's another old timey guy.
Right.
And like I liked them, and they're kind of there to be like, hey, this is a character you don't remember, but he has a long history in DC,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like fine, I guess. But it definitely feels much more like a part of a one issue at a time kind of story as opposed to a greater narrative,
Right. Right.
which like is fine depending on what the story is trying to be, if it's more episodic or if it is a greater tale being told.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Oh, speaking of which, is Watchmen on the DC universe? Huh?
I believe the motion comic is.
Oh, but not the actual comic. Because I was thinking if it was, that's one of the books we could read. You've read it before?
I have it on paper.
Oh, nice. You read it before?
I've read it a bunch of times, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I even got the first half of Doomsday Clock. It was a Christmas present.
Nice. Okay. That's one of the things we could put in the back burner. All right, so then.
And I haven't read before Watchmen.
Oh, I didn't touch before Watchmen.
Could be fun.
Yeah, I guess. It's funny how, right, Doomsday came out around the same time as the Watchmen show on HBO, and they both were sequels. Which one did it better? Who wore it better?
Yeah, and that show, oh my god, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so basically, to sum up what the story was about, is Joker feels that his extended family, Batman's extended family, that being Robin, Nightwing, Red Robin, Batgirl, all those characters kind of hamper Batman. It makes Batman weak.
Jelly.
And he feels the Batman truly loves him and not them, right? So he, instead of the whole let's capture Batman or do something with Batman, I'm gonna go for them, and the story doesn't make it clear unless I misinterpret something. He says he knows who they are. I know who all of them are. But then Batman is like, yeah, he doesn't know. Don't worry about it. He doesn't know. So I guess they left it ambiguous if Joker knows or not.
Yeah, there's definitely the ambiguity because, they get into the big fight at the cave when he reveals that he found a Joker card in the cave.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Great many 5 years ago.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think Scott was playing by that rule.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a thing where he has to write 5, but he's like, it's a bunch of years.
Yeah.
And so that ambiguity is something that Joker always thrives on,
Mm-hmm.
of you never knowing what he's up to,
Yeah.
of him being someone who says, you think I'm the kind of guy who has a plan, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I don't know, do you? Maybe, who
Right.
knows? And the answer is usually yes. Um, and I think that this gets more towards the terror of not knowing whether he has a plan, which I think is more effective. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he gets by the skin of his teeth.
Right.
Um, and then we see that used against him when Batman claims to know who he is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how he defeats him in the end.
Right.
When Joker gets a 1960s TV death of shocking him and then falling to
Right.
an ambiguous fate,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which I thought was um, a very good use of like the Adam West style, like because that's how like they would die all the time. They'd
Yeah.
fall into a waterfall or whatever, and be like, "Is he dead? Is she dead? I don't know, maybe, but she'll be back
Mm-hmm.
because you can't kill anyone in these shows."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And then I was also wondering because before that happened, Bruce says, "All right, I'm done playing the game," or Batman rather, done playing the game. Like, was he really gonna like straight up murder him then? Because
Maybe.
that's the thing, right? So reversing a little bit back, Joker pretty much captures the Bat family.
And
And,
poor Alfred.
right? He poisons Alfred with the Joker toxin, and he makes it look, which was at the time when I read it. This time when I'm reading it, I know the truth, so it didn't shock me as much. But at the time I read it, I thought he literally peeled the face off all the characters and put them in the. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was gonna be like they were all gonna have scars on their face for like the next issue. They were gonna
Right?
have like John Travolta face off scars.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
Uh,
oh my god, did he do that? Holy shite. Um, but yeah, it was a bluff. But one of the things he was saying to Batman is like, okay, look how many times, and it's kind of like a callback to the whole Red Hood storyline, the comic book. I think they mentioned that in the show as well, which I think you said you saw, the Red Hood, Under the Red Hood. Did you see
yeah,
that? Where Todd asked him like, if it was the one time you would kill somebody, why not him? Like I thought you would do it for me. And Batman's argument that he's always said for decades is, if I kill, they win, right? And Joker pretty much says, you know what? That's bullshit. Because I win by doing what I'm doing right now. I win every time you let me go. I win every time I'm able to get under your skin. I get to do stuff like shoot Batgirl or Barbara Gordon in the back, which this references, by the way.
but she's like not crippled anymore.
Yeah, it was a
Would she
whole.
get a Felicity Smoke microchip?
I don't know what it was. It was supposed to be explained in her comment, but I didn't read it. So I don't know what's the story behind it. Yeah, I guess it was a new DC 52 white thing, but then she remembered that she got shot, so it was like, I don't know. But yeah, it probably was explained in her comics, and I guess we can research that. But yeah, so he was basically calling it out, and he says, really the real reason you don't kill me, cause you love me, dude. You love me, bro. You can't do without me, bro.
They're two sides of the
complete
same
me,
coin.
right? But I guess the basic torture of Batman by almost torching his family, I guess that was enough, because which is almost kind of hypocritical because he killed Jason Todd, right? And Batman still didn't do anything about it. I mean, he did punch him, almost killed him, but he didn't. But I think what happens, I think the real catalyst to why Batman decided, yes, I'm just gonna kill you right now, is it's like an accumulation of Joker pretty much messing with Batman over the years. Maybe just says, you know what, that's it. You're right. I should just kill you right now. But I think the other thing was that his actual flesh and blood was almost killed, which is Damien. I think that also, like, all right, yeah, you mess with my actual flesh and blood. Nah, I'm gonna kill you, bro. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, kind of in the earlier stories, I think if you didn't know that Damien was his son, you might not even know.
Right.
I don't know if he ever calls him father.
Oh, no,
the first in Night of Owls.
in Court of Owls. I think the first issue he says being smart about it when he was, I guess, showing off with about the other two. I think he did say father or something like
Well,
that.
maybe, but in any case, he says it a lot
In this one, yeah, yeah,
He calls him father a bunch of times.
yeah.
Uh,
So I think just the mere fact that, and again, picking up on like, oh yeah, if somebody just picked up death of the family, right? And they wanted to come to a conclusion of why he wanted to kill. Just the mere fact that Damien calls him father, and he was there, almost killed, and he's the first person he went to go check. If you notice, right? Like after he sort of doused the flames,
yeah.
the first person he went to was Damien. He didn't check anybody else other than Damien, and then he hugged Damien. He didn't even hug the rest. He just hugged Damien.
Yeah, I mean, he is also a psycho,
Yeah, yeah.
but a psycho with a heart.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't say father. He didn't call him father, and he didn't show up too much in that story. So, yeah,
Right.
you're right. Um,
But yeah, I didn't think about it from that angle of him actually being paternal towards Damien, because it's just so, even with Dick and Jason and all the rest, he's not really paternal with them ever.
He's always, because the thing about it is funny, right? If you think about how each member joined the Bat family, right? It was like he was standoffish every time each member says, "I want to be Robin" or "I want to follow in your footsteps." Standoffish at first, and then he says, "All right, I'm gonna put you through a gauntlet." Because there's actually a book called The Gauntlet where he puts the latest, I think it was Tim Drake, through the gauntlet, where he says, "All right, you got to prove that you're worthy of going out on a crusade with me." But I believe what made Damien different is that Damien he didn't know what to make of Damien at the time. Damien was something else. Other than, like, yes, it's his son, but he had that edge to him that he knew the others didn't have. Like, this guy was a killer, right?
The League of Assassins, right?
Yeah. So he felt, I think he was more accepting of him coming on with him, not necessarily because he felt he could handle it, but he felt like that's the only way to control him, right? It's like, I have to soften that edge, I gotta dull that blade, like make sure that what he does when I'm not around is reflective of what I would do in a certain situation. So I think he was quick to say, all right, you can be under my wing, than he did the others, because maybe because of him being his son too. Maybe he was more like, I'm not gonna be as hard on you because you're my son. And then the other is that he just didn't know. Like, if you read the Grant Morrison storyline, which introduces the whole thing, he was really shook, right? Like, from the first time he sees this kid, like he's like, he damn near almost said to Talia, "What am I supposed to do with this thing?" Right? Because she just basically dropped him off and says, "Okay, he's yours now. Peace out." And she got on her boat and dipped. And he was like, "Huh? Okay," So this kid was an anomaly to him. So over time, he grew closer to him and stuff like that. So and I think that was a really cool sort of relationship evolution. If you read certain comics, if you read the Batman comics, if you read Batman and Robin, which what's his name, Peter Tomasi took over. It's a cool dynamic between the two. So yeah, so it was, I think, going back to the death of the family, I think what really pushed Batman over the edge to just really say, "I'm gonna kill you," is that his son was in the midst of all of that. And I'm sure compounded by the fact that he constantly tries to kill each member of his family, so to speak. Like, he shot Barbara, he killed Jason Todd, but Jason Todd is bad, so I guess whatever. Then now you're trying to kill my son and do all of that in front of me, so yeah, you're done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
he does have that great line. He's like, "I'm gonna kill him."
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
But speaking of shook,
Yeah.
the ending of this is one of my favorite parts of any of these comics that we've read so far, where Batman's like, "All right, we beat Joker, new day.
Yeah.
Let's all get back together and have a little party. I'll explain to you the whole thing about the card and how I knew, um, you know, all that. And I've called the whole family. They're going to be here, and one by one they call him, and they're like, "Nah."
Yeah. Um.
Like they are privy to information that we don't know about.
Right.
That while they were captive, Joker told them things
Mhm.
that we don't even get the slightest idea of what they could be.
Mhm. Mhm.
Could be things about them, could be things about Batman, could be things about himself and the things that he's done.
Mhm.
But it leaves everybody shook. Barbara calls and is like, I can't do this. I'm going to go do this instead. Sorry. They none of them convey to Bruce that it's personal.
Right.
Even Damian's like, I'm going to be training at the gym a little late today.
Mhm.
Red Robin's like, I forget what he says, but they all give him excuses.
Mhm.
And Bruce is kind of.
Yeah. He's hard.
You don't know if he's aware, but either way, if he's aware of why
Mhm.
entirely.
Well, I
But,
mean, he did ask straight up to Dick, like, what did he say? What did Joker say to you? Right? And because he have a feeling that's what happened. Like, Joker's probably spilled the beans about something. Yeah. So yeah, that really it felt almost like Batman is now lonely, right? It was like
Yeah, there's
it's
definitely
empty.
a wedge driven.
Yeah.
Even though the Bat family were able to use, they were able to break fear of the fear toxin in like a Fast and Furious style. Like, we can't kill each other, we're family.
Your family.
Which I thought was a little corny, but it worked because
Yeah.
the thing had been so friggin' grim up to
Yeah.
that point
Yeah.
that like a little bit of that, family friendly kind of, oh, we're all in this together. What are we doing? Snap out of it. Um, anytime anyone in fiction goes snap out of it, it's me. You kind of roll your eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
But with the story being so grim as it has been, kind of having such a genuine happy ending to that particular corner of the story, I thought worked really well. But then kind of in the wake of that, they're kind of like, so things are different now, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, maybe we should go do our own thing. And Red Hood's like, I'm a mile ahead of you. I'm already doing my own thing.
Yeah. 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 So that was great, and then I guess the sort of capper to the whole story and what Bruce was pretty much saying, like, like, yeah, he never went into the cave. He never went into the cave. He constantly believed that, and that's because, sort of the kicker to the whole thing was that he did a flashback to where he, as Bruce Wayne, went to Joker himself, put the card to the window and says, "You left this for me," which meant like he was ready to like confront this guy face to face. And that's a crazy idea, right? It's like Batman has done everything in his power, like he has technology up the ass to protect the identity of not only
Like
himself,
Cartman?
right? But yeah, he's very protective of his identity. But for Joker, he was just ready to just like, right? And Joker looked back and didn't even care because Joker wants to mentally block that out. He doesn't care who's under the cowl. That doesn't matter to him. His relationship is with Batman and no one else. Like,
yeah, it's not even that it doesn't matter. It's that he doesn't want to know.
yeah.
Like if he knows, I mean, Batman.
I guess he'll have an advantage, right? He feels he will have too much of an advantage if he knows who Batman is. He feels, I guess, the ultimate victory is to beat Batman as Batman and not through any other means necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, I did like that scene very much. It's kind of like Bruce going into that situation was probably like, I have a way to kill you right now.
Yeah.
And if you recognize me, I'm gonna kill you. The pilot of Arrow. No one can know my secret. Snap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an iconic moment in superhero history, whether you like the show or not.
Right.
I feel like that's a pivotal moment. But as soon Bruce lets him live because he's like, oh, he doesn't give a damn about Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Wayne. He's only in it for Batman, and so he doesn't kill him, and it kind of shows both of them
Mm-hmm.
and their crucial trait,
Yeah.
which is Joker doesn't care about his identity. He's just like he doesn't care about he doesn't want Batman to know his own. And
Mm-hmm.
when Batman, threatens to tell him his own,
Yeah.
that's when he freaks out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a genuine freak out, maybe the only one we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and on the other hand, when when Bruce realizes that he doesn't have to kill Joker, he's kind of like, cool.
Yeah.
He's a little. He becomes intrigued by him.
Yeah. Which what's funny? Have you read Hush?
Mm-mm.
Um.
Well, don't spoil it because I do plan on at least watching it on DC Universe
Okay.
because it's on that.
Did it end the same way? I don't know if it. I don't remember if it ended the same way.
Is
But
Joker in that story?
yeah, Joker's in the story.
Who plays him
This
in the movie?
I don't remember.
Ah,
Not Mark Hamill. Um.
I definitely read Joker as Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But I mean, I guess without sort of spoiling it, there is a character in it, right? Who I guess Batman figures that he knows who he is, right? So it's like it was like the kind of the same dichotomy, right? Where he's trying to, I guess, almost putting all cards on the table, literally and figuratively, in Death of the Family. It was like, I got your card or whatever, right? And Joker doesn't care. This other villain pretty much comes to Batman and is like, yes, I know who you are, Bruce. And Batman, in that same moment, says, okay, now what? Right? Because it's like, you're not going to do anything about that. Because you feel like, just like I was saying, it's like, knowing he's Batman, it kind of takes away the fun of it, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely. Like if he doesn't know, if Joker doesn't know that they can keep on playing,
right, so
like
so
because Batman doesn't really care that much when people get killed,
yeah, yeah,
and they do a good job of that in this story of him really having little to no reaction
mm-hmm.
to. He rushes in not to save the mayor's guys,
Yeah,
but to confirm what what he suspected.
mm-hmm.
And so he's almost like, hooray, I was right. Joker killed all the mayor's guys.
Yeah,
As opposed to, how do I save these guys?
mm-hmm.
I mean, they're already dead because they die so quickly. But, he's like, oh, the Joker pulled one over on me. Good for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's continue. And then, perhaps with, I mean, I don't know how we reacted after Jason Todd got killed.
Oh, he almost killed Joker. He was just fisticuffs,
Yeah.
like
Only when it's personal, only
Yeah.
when it affects him.
But he
Does
stopped
he
himself.
actually have an emotional response?
Yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, it's just it's just what he does. It's just the game that they play.
yeah, yeah.
Ah, so good.
And I think he almost killed him too when Barbara got shot, but I think he stopped himself, and I think that was like one of the most famous ending to a comic where Joker, after he kind of apprehends him, and Joker sort of tells a joke, and it's the first time Batman has ever laughed at the joke. Actually.
Oh yeah. I haven't read it yet, but I saw the terrible movie.
Yeah.
Well, the first half was terrible.
Yeah, because the first half they just added on. The second half was the actual story.
Yeah, that's a DCAU thing. Who is it in the DCAU that is obsessed with shipping those two? With Batman and Batgirl?
I don't
Is
know.
it Paul or Bruce?
Oh, you mean like if it's Bruce Dini or Paul, Bruce Timm or Paul Dini?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Because
know.
I read somewhere that like one of those two is just obsessed with their Bruce and Barbara ship,
Mm.
and like
Well, I
they don't
guess it was
care how.
Bruce who was behind that. I don't think Paul did. Paul write that? That animated flick, because Alan Moore was the original writer of
Right,
Killing
but there's
Joke.
nothing romantic between them in that comic, right?
No, the
And
she.
is there anything romantic between them in like any comic?
No, no. It's always been her and when Dick isn't smashing Starfire. That was a thing with the two of them. It was, but
Yeah.
it was. I think him and Starfire were more the sort of like lovers, traditional true love. But I think because at the time when Dick Grayson and Batgirl was around, it was that time when they're both teenagers, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, let's ship them because you know.
Mhm.
But then when Robin created the Teen Titans and Starfire came around, it's like, ooh, Starfire.
Then they were the one true pairing. You know, they were Peter and Mary Jane.
Yes, pretty much. They're the
Yeah,
will they won't they can break up on again off again.
yeah, because I know that
Scully, what Mulder and Scully.
Mulder and Scully
Yeah,
will they or won't they?
yeah,
Moonlighting.
yeah,
Right. So Bruce slash Barbara is strictly a DCAU thing that everyone tries to pretend doesn't happen.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because when
Just
it happened, it was like a shock, and it felt like, wait a second,
was that
oh
Batman Beyond or Justice League where that happened, or was it in the original animated series?
no, well I guess in one oh, all right. So I think what happened was in Batman Beyond when Barbara was older. I think she did mention. Now that you mention it, I think she either mentioned that they had a thing or mentioned that she had a thing for him,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which again, that was she had a thing for him was always that wasn't like a hidden thing.
Like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that she had a thing for him because he was Batman, right? So it was a crush.
Yeah.
But in terms of consummating that,
Reciprocating.
yeah, it was never that direction for Batman.
Okay, they didn't go that far
What I think,
in the DCAU.
yeah, yeah, what I think happened in this Killing Joke thing was that I guess because Paul Dini, I think it's Paul Dini, never got a chance to explore that in any of the Batman animated series or Batman Beyond. He figured, hey, maybe I should tackle that, and maybe he's trying to say that Bruce somehow has a crush on her, but he just refuses to see her that way. And the thing is, we were trying to figure out what was her age at that time. Was she even legal? But I think she was going to college, so I guess she's legal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I'm not inherently against
Mm-hmm.
because I do think that it can add depth.
Right. It was just out of nowhere. I guess it was people's like they felt Batman would never do that. It was
Yeah, I mean, she's
against his
Commissioner Gordon's daughter.
right. It was
Like,
yeah,
Commissioner Gordon, like you're one friend.
right. It was
You have one friend, man. You're gonna ruin that?
yeah, yeah, and again, like we've never seen any indication in any of the lore, whatever medium it was, other than like that hint from Batman Beyond, and we all just chalked it up as crush, and it was like, oh, okay, that's cool information, but it just like, wait, what's happening? And then to see it actually happen, it was like, I don't know, I'm uncomfortable watching this.
Yeah, and also like the animation in that movie is like particularly bad in general.
Right.
Like even kind of the low standards of those movies, or unless I just watched all the wrong ones.
Yeah, I think maybe they were trying, because most of the time when DC does their animated stuff, they're trying to emulate what the art style was of the thing they're adapting. And I think maybe they were trying to adapt the art style of Killing Joke just poorly because the Killing Joke looks awesome.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll have to read it. I'm sure it's on DC
Yeah.
Universe. So
I mean, it's gonna be. It's pretty. Like I said, the second half of that animated movie is pretty accurate to what.
Yeah, and I
happens.
liked it. Like
Yeah.
you can tell where it becomes that because it's like, oh wait, this isn't bad anymore.
Yeah.
And like it's not even that. It's just it's a filler, nothing story of Batgirl being bad at her job.
Yeah, yeah. It was.
Or it's kind of like, I did, even as someone who doesn't find, I don't hold any of these characters to be particularly precious the way
Right.
I know a lot of people do.
Mm,
I was just like, this is bad, and it feels out of character for everybody.
yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's just much more
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So yeah, that was that, and I guess is there anything else we
Is
missed
there anything
on?
else? Oh yeah, yeah. Joker's like they have like close-ups of like guys on the with their frowns. They have a close-up of a horse getting its head chopped off,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and
So
it's
yeah,
so gross. And yet, they censor the word ass
right.
when Joker says "sit your ass down."
It's like
Like,
really?
oh, think of the children.
Yeah,
It's okay if they see a horse get frozen and then ripped apart. And that even I was like, oh no, I don't like that. Jesus.
Maybe it was a troll. Maybe it was a troll by Scott Snyder. Like, I'm gonna show you all of this and censor that. Or again, it's I think the standards. I forgot the name of the organization that.
The new Comics Code Authority.
Yeah, the Comics Authority. That's their name. Their name.
Oh wait, they still do that?
Yeah.
Ah, jeez. Like I see how they're like rated, teen.
Yeah,
or
it's
teen plus or whatever.
I think they're still around. Like you have to. Basically, DC has to have a line for adult comics and a line for their sort of mainstream.
Vertigo.
Yeah, Vertigo. Even though they shut down Vertigo at that time, and then I think they brought it back. It's a weird thing. I don't even know.
Oh yeah,
what
the
DC
one with
did.
Batman's penis.
Oh right. So yeah. So
I only know the headlines.
yeah. So
Marvelous.
basically, I think what it is like, it's like the movies, right? You can show violence, but if you only get one F-bomb, or you can't really show nudity, but you can show all the violence in the world, pretty much. I guess in moderation. You can't go over the top with bloods and splatter and stuff.
Well, yeah, they have a lot though. I mean, first of all, Joker's face.
Yeah.
But like when when Joker puts down the horse and then the guy, the other horse, and then the horse had fallen on top of the guy and then he just like shoots that guy in the head and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah. It's a weird thing with the Comics Authority.
But you can't say ass.
I guess saying ass would push it too over the top. It's like, oh, you're a mature adults only comic. Nope.
It's silly though. It's like I was all I'm not super in for like it's so dark and scary.
Yeah.
It's a little, but especially with the censoring of ass, it makes it like it's as scary as like an Avenged Sevenfold thing where it's like, oh, it's hot topic.
Yeah.
Ooh. Avenged Sevenfold, if for those who don't know, is a very bad band.
I guess. Do you like any bands? I guess it's off topics, but
do you like any bands? Period.
No. Do you like any bands from that period? The early aughts. The Creeds, the Disturbed, who else? Puddle of Mud.
Favorite covers band.
Huh?
Disturbed has good covers.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Puddle of Mud.
I know like the single from Puddle of Mud, but like bands from that I follow. Well, the Killers are like my favorite band.
Are they from that aughts?
Yeah, 2004 was their first record.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think they're more garage than say like.
They vary, but they're not
either
like
battle, because what was happening in the aughts was like not grunge. What were they calling like
new metal?
Yeah, new metal. Yes, new metal, and some of them were like power ballads, like I guess the Creeds we call what they were doing.
Evanescence, Linkin Park.
Yes, Stained. I like Stained.
Yeah, I don't really know Stained at all.
Who else was there? Oh, System of a Down.
System of a Down is fine.
They're tough.
I'm not like terribly familiar, but like I like what I hear.
Yeah.
Although they also have that kind of like well, at least they're kind of sly and subversive with it, where they're like that kind of Danzig style of like oh, this is one for the parents to scare them, but like the rest of our stuff isn't actually like this.
Yeah.
Whereas Avenged Sevenfold is like it caters to the kid who wants to pierce his own eyebrow. Or it's like Avenged Sevenfold is music for the kid who has a Joker poster. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just so like they think they're very hardcore and they think they're very cool, but it's just like it's just a bunch of skinny white boys with gauges, whatever.
And then I guess speaking of Joker, you got the other one, 30 Seconds to Mars, Jared Leto.
Uh,
I don't know.
Start on
I like
Jared Leto.
I like 30 Seconds to Mars. They're cool
I mean, I guess they're fine. I don't really listen to them, but
Yeah.
but yeah,
But yeah, their
was-
front man got to play Joker, which is a shame. I guess
it's a shame he's so bad at acting.
really you didn't like.
I didn't like his Joker.
Um.
It's gonna hurt you real bad.
Well, I guess according to David Ayer, his best stuff was cut out. So, if you want to be more optimistic about it, you could say, "Hey, we probably didn't see his best stuff."
Release the Ayer cut.
Which
HBO Max.
it's funny. It's funny, right? Like he tweeted like congratulations to Zack Snyder, and if you go on all his replies, it's the same thing. Don't worry, bro. We got you next. You're next. You're next. We're coming for your movie next. Release the Ayer cut, which I guess it's the thing, but how much better is it than an original? We don't know. Like, was he still planning to do the Enchantress thing, or was that
I mean, it looked too expensive, and like those effects looked good enough
that it had to be from
like,
pre-production?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would love to see the Ayer cut,
Mm-hmm.
but because I really like David Ayer as a director and as a writer,
Mm-hmm.
but you can tell even with all of the supposed cutscenes,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the skeleton of that movie is the same,
Right.
just with more character beats
More
along
stuff,
the way,
yeah, I guess.
which might be enough to make it better.
Yeah, because
But I don't
I
think
guess
it'd be
if you
enough to make it.
yeah, I guess if you have more Joker and Harley stuff too, you get to see the little backbone of that relationship.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe his version is grittier too. Instead of it being like cut by movie trailer guys, maybe he had a more cerebral film.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever going to be rated R though.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, that's just marketing BS.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it was
like when Venom, like weeks before Venom came out, they were like, "It might be rated R. Who knows?" It was never going to be rated R.
And I don't think this Suicide Squad coming up is going to be rated R either.
No,
I don't think so.
Even after Birds of Prey.
Maybe maybe it was gonna be rated R, but I think after Birds of Prey they might have told. Even though James Gunn is the type of filmmaker that, not saying he's powerful and don't tell me what to do, but it's more like if his true vision can't show, maybe it affects his workflow. I guess I don't know.
I think he has Final Cut though.
Maybe I guess
because he is editing the movie. Or probably he's done by now.
Yeah.
But he was editing from his home because he was in lockdown.
I mean, I guess maybe. I mean, they did have a rated R Joker. So.
I would hope so, because like even though Birds of Prey did not like explode at the box office,
Yeah.
And it probably did lose some money. It's not like a Titanic bomb,
That's
like
true.
it's just a minor loss because
Yeah.
it wasn't terribly expensive either. It's not a $200 million movie. It's like what 90 or 100
Well,
million.
how much is Suicide Squad? That's a question, right? Are they giving him 100 million to make this, or is it because if it's like less than 100, then yes, I could see it being rated R. Because it's like, why would you invest in a movie with such little? Usually when you do a smaller budget movie, comparable in this term, you're trying to do something different or risky, so you're not trying to risk a lot of money. So if this movie is over $100 million, I could see them saying, "Oh, it has to be PG-13 because we're gonna go big with it." So I don't know. I guess if we got to see what the budget is on this.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be the case because I think that the Suicide Squad is very much a course correction / soft reboot / the opposite of the last Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think where that movie went big, this one will go small.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if it's gonna even reference Birds of Prey.
Oh, for sure. I think there's going to be a through line with Harley because she's in it, right?
Yeah, because Birds of Prey hardly referenced.
Yeah, beyond hey, I know
Suicide
that guy.
Squad,
The
yeah.
picture of Boomerang.
Yeah. So
Which
is
was
it
plenty.
is it going to be that kind of reference as well, where it's like, oh yeah, I had a little tiff going on with a bunch of people, but then left it
Well,
at that?
they've got a lot of the same actors, Rick Flag, who I really like,
No, no,
Joel
no,
Kinnaman.
well, yeah, but not. I'm saying, is it going to reference Birds of Prey?
Oh, well, the reference Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe just in terms of Harley's characterization, like maybe Cassandra Cain will be in it for like a minute, you know.
Yeah.
She'll be in her house or whatever, and she'll be like, "Oh, sorry, Cassie, I gotta go do something," and then, you know,
You know what is so strange about that movie?
was that it was a good DC movie?
No, no. It it's a lesson. If someone wanted to do like a marketing class and come up with like a thesis, or write a paper of something that was a disaster in terms of recouping its money, and what was the cause of that, right? And they want to break down something, right? That movie was destined to fail from before the script was written. Only because that was, a lot of people would say sometimes, like, why would you make that movie? Why would you make it? Why not? If you have an idea, you can make anything. If you have an idea, if you think it's good enough, you want to back it, make it. I think this is, and maybe I'm just being hyperbolic here, but I think this is one project that shouldn't have been made, at least not made how it was made. In that, Birds of Prey, an established, granted not as popular as Batman, or popular as Superman, or popular as Teen Titans, but popular enough where people know these characters. Birds of Prey never had anything to do with Harley Quinn. It's its own thing, right? Harley Quinn was a part of something else that should have been made. Either she should have made a solo movie, which Harley Quinn has had solo books, or it should have been a Gotham City Sirens movie, which Harley Quinn has been 1/3 of.
Yeah, and that was in development too, but I think they chose to go with Birds of Prey. I guess I see the rationale, but I think that's not like, how do I put this without being like offensive to comics? Like, I think that's holding like the comics in too high.
Yeah, wait, but hold on. Here's the thing too. I know where you're coming from. Like, okay, it doesn't have to be a slave to the comics. I mean, there's a lot of Marvel stuff that's not slavish to the comics that works. Guardians, for instance. It's, if you look at the comic book version and the movie version, there's a lot of stuff that the movie did completely different and did it so well that the comic books later adapted, right?
Or Civil War being probably the best example.
Right.
I remember talking to Rob about that on our podcast before that movie, was really a thing, and we were like, "Oh man, Spider-Man's gonna have a huge role in it."
Yeah, no.
Yeah, all right. How are they gonna adapt this part and this part and this part? Like, you don't, man.
Yeah. So, but the problem with that movie is it was called Birds of Prey, big letters, Birds of Prey.
Yeah, it's like a 12-word title, and Harley Quinn is the last two. That's the problem.
And the Birds of Prey are this in the movie, and Harley Quinn is this in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Not to mention, again, we know we don't have to be slavish to the comic books, but at least some recognition. Some, like, oh, okay, I kind of see that character. Oh, none of the characters, other than Harley Quinn, even remotely relate to their comic book counterpart. Right?
Even Montoya, she was cool.
Not even, because
I mean, I don't know. I haven't read about
other than the fact that
but
she is a lesbian in the comic book and she's a lesbian in the movie. Virtually unrecognizable.
I think it boiled down to marketing more than anything else. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Marketing. It was like Inception, the decision, and I think because this was more of a passion project for Margot, because she was the producer on this thing, and they say,
yeah,
okay,
it's Harley Quinn the movie featuring Birds of Prey,
right? Which, if the movie had okay, so you make this movie, right? So again, if you had went the other way, Gotham City Sirens, that would have been better. But yes, you went with this movie. Fine.
But I guess they didn't want to do Catwoman, or maybe couldn't do Catwoman and
You know what
the Green Poison Ivy.
let's be real. Let's be super honest here. No disrespect to Margot Robbie. I love you. I love your work. I love your work. But keep it 100.
Careful.
Catwoman would have outshined her in her own movie, regardless of who they got. Catwoman is the more Catwoman. Unless you, that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword, right? You get Catwoman to be in your movie. If Catwoman isn't the business, that movie's gonna get shit. Like, why is Catwoman like so? Ew, come on. Catwoman's supposed to be the thing.
Well,
but if
yeah,
you
like Joker and Suicide Squad.
But then if you get Catwoman, if Catwoman is the thing, it's like, all right, people will talk about Catwoman in this movie and not necessarily Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn, Margot is using this movie as a starring vehicle for herself, which in a sense would say, all right, you don't want to do Gotham City Sirens because, again, it's more of a trio movie and not necessarily a movie about Harley Quinn. Then you do a Harley Quinn movie. But, okay, you did this movie. This is a movie you decided to make. Fine. Marketing, take over. Let's sell this movie. What do we call this thing? Birds of Prey. And the emancipation of one Harley Quinn. It was like, what? What does that mean? Okay, all right, let me watch this movie. Who's the Birds of Prey? Oh, we don't know. They don't even name it. They don't even name the group in the movie, right? I don't remember.
But you know, they never do in these movies.
No, oh come on, Guardians of the Galaxy. We're the Guardians of the freaking Galaxy.
Yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy, but like
we're the Avengers. We're a small group type thing. You know.
Yeah, but when do they call him the Hulk in the Hulk movie? When do they call him Iron Man in the Iron Man movie?
They call him Hulk a bunch of times.
Do they?
Yes, Hulk.
In the Edward Norton movie?
Smash. Well,
in the Edward Norton movie.
Maybe not, but I think they were trying to go for realism before they found their footing and say, you know what, we need to embrace this comic book shit and go all the way, right? And I think maybe Edward Norton would have been against that too because he's an auteur.
Yeah, but even then, even later on, like when do they start calling her Scarlet Witch?
Well, here's the thing.
You know, comic book movies don't necessarily use code names, you know?
Right. But at the same time, it's a group. It's the title of the movie. Scarlet Witch, she doesn't have a title. As a matter of fact, she's actually going to get the title Scarlet Witch in her own show. Okay? Mm-hmm. But when you have a movie that, like, for instance, the movie's called Avengers, they're going to call themselves the Avengers. You don't necessarily have to call everybody by their code names, right? Not everybody. They didn't call him Quicksilver. You know, he was only an Avenger for like 2 seconds, but whatever, right? But, you know, in the sense of when you have a group and you have the name of the group, I think they at least mention it once in the movie, right? Like, I mean, in the X-Men, they mention themselves as the X-Men in those movies, you know, pretty much in all of them, including the terrible ones. So yeah, Birds of Prey, you would at least call themselves Birds of Prey at one point. She was not called Black Canary in that entire movie. I guess she just had a little subtle nod because she sings like a canary, whatever.
Yeah. But she makes the whole thing, but it works because they do the whole thing about, you know, call me the Huntress. And they're like, I'm not gonna call you.
Yeah, but then they made that up, and they made that into a joke.
Yeah,
it's whatever, right?
Comedy.
All I'm saying is, right? It's okay, Inception, bad, fine. You did the movie, you failed again in marketing because you named it wrong, and they even tried to walk it back after the release by calling it Harley Quinn.
Think the only mistake they made was with marketing. I think that, you know, I know girls and women who didn't like know that this movie was a thing or didn't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Like, we're looking for the Harley Quinn movie. It's like, I don't know, we got Birds of Prey, and not that one. It's like, no, that's the one.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, maybe like they marketed it more towards like the wrong demographics or something. But like my mom wanted to see it, and she didn't even realize it was out yet when I took her to go see it. And I took my nieces to go see it, who are like between 12 and 17, and they saw it, and like I was like, I'm taking you girls to see this because this is going to be your Kill Bill,
Right, right.
and it was, and they loved it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's like I think that I think it was a failure of marketing.
Yeah.
I think that there's probably you could probably go into something with like the inception of Birds of Prey versus like Gotham City Sirens and Catwoman, blah blah blah. But I do think that that's kind of like thinking a little more deeply in it than like they planned.
I
Than
mean, yeah, but it's that's the kind of thing I think DC should be doing in order to have more successes than failures, right? Like
maybe, but
you,
I don't think it would have made a difference really. Like if Catwoman's in it or not in it. Like
of course it would.
how much no, I don't.
No, here's
I,
why. Here's why. Here's why. Okay, here's why. The mainstream may not know what Gotham City Sirens are, right? It's
I
like, what
don't.
is that? Huh? But I'm saying, it's like Gotham City Sirens. What's that, right?
Are they a team or are they just like
They were
girls
just a team
who
out
are
of
in?
necessity. It was like they had a common enemy, and then they each suffered a major loss in terms of financial, and they all said, you know what, I guess we can room together. So they were basically roommates, and just decided like, hey, we can chill together and rob a few places together, whatever, right? But but even if right, the mainstream doesn't know what Gotham City Sirens are, right? It's easier to market because they know what Gotham is, they know Gotham City, and to add the word sirens to it, that means it's a female centric movie, right? That's step one. Step two is, okay, who is in this? Harley Quinn. Oh, I know her. She was in that Suicide Squad movie, right? Catwoman. Oh, I know her. Like I know her from the comic books, even though I don't read comic books. Oh, I know her from that movie that was that just came out. What is that? The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, I know her from Batman Returns. Oh, I know her from the cartoons.
Halle
Basically,
Berry.
right. They basically there is millions of places where someone could know uh Catwoman from. And then there's Poison Ivy, which is maybe the lesser known of the three, but still more known than any of the other Birds of Prey characters.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just
So it'll
think
be
that that's
easy.
just not the movie that they wanted to make. They didn't want to do Gotham City Sirens. I think David Ayer had dibs on Gotham City Sirens.
Right.
He was making that movie. I don't think he is anymore. Maybe
Nah,
he is. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
But
And the whole
so they were like, let's do these characters instead. Let's do the Birds of Prey characters. Let's not make them a superhero team because post Avengers, if you're doing a superhero team movie, the audience is going to see through whether you're doing the Avengers again,
right,
whether you're doing a superhero team for no reason,
mm-hmm.
or whether you're doing, and they were like, let's do it from the approach of a Harley Quinn solo movie and have the characters from Birds of Prey be in it, and we'll call it Birds of Prey. And that was the mistake, was let's not give it a silly long title. Whatever their marketing department, whatever they spent was not enough.
I mean,
those were the problems.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm thinking about it, where it's like, okay, so full disclosure, even though I have problems with the movie, I did enjoy it. I watched it. It was cool. It was cool. It was cool. It was cool.
10 out of 10.
No, but it was cool. You know what I'm saying? Enjoyable for what it was. Harley Quinn, of course, was, the best part of that movie, obviously.
Broke the guy's legs with a baseball bat.
Right? And you know that guy, right? You've seen him in movies before, right? He was, well, first, he was in the first time I saw him was in Mortal Kombat, the series, the back in the days, where the live action series. But he's been in other stuff as stuntman and fight. But he was also in Matrix Reloaded as one of the agents, the leader who took over from Smith, the upgrades.
Okay.
He was also in John Wick, the first one. Don't remember him though, right?
Nah, not really.
Okay. I mean, obviously that was, because the John Wick guys, I think it was Chad alone, or maybe it was both of them. They came to help out with some of the action sequences in that movie. So
yeah,
obviously, like, they work closely with him. So yeah, anything they work on, he's always a part of. The only reason he's not in the other two John Wick movies is because he's dead. But yeah, everything they sort of work on, he's pretty much be a part of, whether he's a part of the stunt team or part of as an actor. Um, yeah, so yeah, I love the action in the movie. I love this. The story was cool. It was a cool story. Like I said, her.
Black Mask.
But
and Zaz. I get it. People getting mad that it's not. That's not my Zaz. That's not how Black Mask is supposed to. Blah,
I mean,
blah, whatever.
Like I said, it's not. I'm not.
But that's the difference between the comic book fan, that's why we have a good dynamic on this show, because we hold different things to be sacred.
Right. But like I said, even if you're not being slavish to the character,
that's polite.
Even if you're not being slavish to the character, at least have some semblance of what that character is, or else you might as well just make a new character. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that in name only factor that plagues a lot of these adaptations a lot of these times, where it's like, just make a brand new character. Like, for instance, even though at the end of it turned out to be stupid and a stupid decision, and they messed it up towards the end. But in Game of Thrones, in the earlier seasons, they had this character that got married to Robb. In the books, it was a character called Jane Westerling, and she had her character was a completely different person. She was a noble. She was part of this big family, and that Robb just he basically attacked her castle to take it over. But then, he was, I guess she was sweet on him, and at the time, like, he thought he lost his brothers, and then she was sorry for him. He was injured as well, so she nursed him back to health, and then they eventually had sex. But he felt like, he doesn't want to dishonor her, so he married her or whatever. But in the show, he meets someone else who was basically a nurse, and she's from a noble family, but she's from a noble family from a different place. And she has a completely different background, and she acts differently. So they wanted to call her Jane Westerling, and George was like, but she's nothing like Jane Westerling. Just call her something else. And they were like, yeah, you're right. So they call her something else.
Hey, George, write the books. Let us work on the show.
Yeah.
How about that? How about that, George?
You're right.
I think it's a thing where if the internet was as ubiquitous now as it was, if it was as ubiquitous as it is now back in, say, 2000, Smallville wouldn't have been allowed to, spread its wings the way it did. Because they would have been like, they weren't friends back then, Lex and Clark, what is this? And, and I think a great example of a movie that gets flack and praise from all sides of the comic book fandom is like Batman v Superman,
right?
And Man of Steel, where Man of Steel got criticism for taking, for being like a dark, violent version of Superman, including from myself. Right. I think that movie's way too violent.
Right.
I like a lot of the action in it, but sometimes it's kind of like, it's a little tasteless, no? For a Superman story. And then Batman v Superman, they run with that. And it's even more violent, to the point of being kind of like, man, that's a lot. And then, you got the whole, Batman's killing everybody. I thought Batman's not supposed to kill, and everyone's losing their mind. But then, they're all cool with it, when Justice League turns out to be bad, and they're like, oh, he should have been allowed to do his thing. And I'm talking about myself in this case, too.
Right.
Kind of like, well, hey, they changed it because you complained.
Right.
They changed it because it wasn't true to the comics. They changed it because, you want some color in your superhero movies, not the black and white Man of Steel, which is literally a black and white movie, almost. Not literally, but it's up there. And, Batman v Superman is so grim. Although, and I don't think that we can have it both ways, where we can say Batman v Superman is so great in spite of being so different from the comics, but Birds of Prey is dragged to a degree for straying so far from the comics. I think that we just kind of have to accept that these are going to be totally different from their source material in some ways, and similar to it in some other ways, and that these comics have gone through so many writers, and there's so many different interpretations, that whatever, a movie version is just another interpretation of a very loose definition that was set 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. Well, two things. One, in defense of BVS,
A movie that I still don't like.
there are still some semblance of who these characters are in the movie, where
He's
it's
got
not.
one rule. He's got one rule.
Huh?
He's got one rule, and he never breaks that rule. It's the whole point of Dark Knight.
Well, okay, but, okay, but at the end of the day, right? There's still, even if he changes his character, right? His look, his feel, his vibe still said Batman, right? Yes, it's a Batman that kills, but it still said Batman, right?
Like flies across the ceiling in his first scene.
Yeah.
Oh, God, what a bad movie.
It still said
it's so
Batman.
good, but I hate it.
It's, it still said Batman. Superman is a little bit darker, whatever, but he still was saving people. He still looked like Superman. He's still no. We got rid of the trunks even before the movie came out.
Trunks.
We got rid of the
trunks.
trunks.
Series about that.
We got rid of the trunks with the new DC 52. We got rid of the trunks. And they brought the trunks back. I don't like it. Get rid of the trunks. But so that was one. Second, you brought up the Smallville thing. Oh boy. I don't know if you remember. Bro. I mean, the forums were creeping on the come up back then.
I mean, 2000. I was 10, so I wasn't on the forums.
I was around. I was 18, so I was fully aware of. I was 19. But anyway.
Okay, you finish and then I'll
destroy. But I was around. I was reading the websites, the Cinescapes, and your other different forums. Trust me, especially in the later seasons. Trust me, Smallville was getting its fair share of ass kicking from the fans. Okay. That wasn't a carefree or sort of critics proof show.
Right, but the executives weren't making decisions based on that.
Right, because at the time, executives felt fans were shit, so they kept doing it.
Because they are. Like the artist is making their movie, they're making their show. Let them make their show.
Mm-hmm.
If the artist or the creator wants to, like X-Files, they read those forums,
mm-hmm.
back in the early days
mm-hmm.
of those fan forums, and they would throw nods to them here and there.
Yeah.
But for an executive to go, oh, the fans, or this test screening, or my 12-year-old son said that it'd be better if it was CGI, or whatever, whatever that goes against the author's vision.
But
kind of like, hey, let them make their movie.
But it's not necessarily. I don't think necessarily it's because the voices weren't that loud back then. I think what it boils down to is your time. What executives now are realizing, right? And I think this is also a contributing factor to why the Snyder Cut got greenlit, right? Is a lot of people are realizing people's time are limited, right? And there's so much competition out now, right? In 2000, when Smallville was around, you had your cable station, you had the movies, and you had your video games. That's it. Now, you have your cable, you have your video games, you have your phone, you have Netflix, you have Hulu, Amazon Prime, CBS All Access, HBO Max on the come up. You know what I'm saying? Basically, there's so much content. We're overflown with content now. The reason why the pandemic hasn't affected us in terms of us driving ourselves crazy and shooting ourselves in the head is because we're basically catching up on shit we missed. We missed not only since this year.
For me, a freelancer who's now doing more work than ever.
But you get what I'm saying.
But yes, I absolutely.
We're so inundated with content nowadays. It's like people aren't necessarily bored. Yes, they want to go outside because, like, once in a while you want to do that. You want to get a fresh air. You want to see people, meet people, talk to people, do whatever you want with people.
Well, yeah,
But
well, yeah, definitely, I agree. 20 years ago, we were making shows and movies that we wanted everybody to watch,
mhm,
and shows were, CSI got 30 million viewers a week.
right,
And now we make shows, we make a great many shows that only a few people will watch, but they, one way or the other, through their
mhm,
subscriptions, pay more for them,
yeah, yeah,
whether they're aware of it or not.
mhm,
So viewership doesn't matter as long as the same people, the right people, the people who we are making the show for are
right,
watching.
right,
It means that there's a lot of shows look oddly cheaper
mhm,
than they used to, in some ways. And you can tell when they really, HBO or CBS All Access with Star Trek, when they shell out a lot of money
mhm.
for a show. But although I haven't seen Star Trek Picard yet, I imagine it's
It looks just as expensive as Discovery.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, I haven't watched it because I always watch it at my parents' house, but I haven't been there in 3 months now.
Yeah.
Well, 2.5 months. But yeah, no, definitely, that's definitely something where they're making directly for smaller groups of fans,
Yeah.
which in some ways is better, but in some ways I could see it being, worse. I don't know.
So I mean, the bottom line is what's happening now. I think, especially with the whole the Snyder thing, is definitely a new stepping point, a new milestone, in that from this point, I think what executives have to start learning. And it also, I think the next milestone would be once this thing comes out and we see it, whether it was good or bad, that will determine, it will solidify exactly what they need to do, right? Where throughout the time when people start to influence art, and that's not long ago. I want to say tops maybe 5 years, right? As a matter of fact, I think the first real big instance of it is Fantastic Four with Josh Trank, right? Where everybody was like, "Wait, what are they planning to do? No, 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 no!" And then they did the whole
Yeah,
second
and
half
that
of that
movie
movie,
is our fault.
right? So,
We did that. We ruined that movie.
and that's the thing. Hollywood, the execs haven't really learned which voice they should listen to yet, because it's affected Star Wars, which I'm really pissed. Like it's funny, right? I enjoyed Rise of Skywalker when I saw it. I enjoyed it a little bit more when I saw it again, but then it started to decline in my enjoyment of it because it just what it represented, what it.
You see how shallow it is.
Yeah,
And,
it was like
they it's a super simple revelation of like the power of friendship. It's like even if it's Billy D. Williams saying it, it's still
right. I mean, it's
so
like
productive.
the reason why I haven't completely fleshed that movie in the toilet is that I really liked what Abrams did with Rey and Kylo. Right, I like that dynamic between the two, and that's the funny thing because that's where I thought it was gonna go anyway. Right, not necessarily like a redemption. Like if it was up to me, I would have went like a little bit edgier with it, where they were still fighting each other, but in secret they were having sex.
Oh right. We talked about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I was so ready to just put that whole thing behind us, and I think that we are doing that. I think that whatever's next for Star Wars, even if some of those guys are still involved,
Yeah.
cast wise, actors wise,
Yeah.
characters wise, it's a fresh start where we can kind of.
yeah,
And I do think that the future of Star Wars, whether it's set before or after the new trilogy,
I hate before.
will.
Let's stop the before shit. Let's go forward, man. Let's move on. But yeah,
But
yeah.
it will all have the lasting effect of making those movies better. The way Clone Wars has the lasting effect of making Episode 3 tolerable.
Yeah, I need to watch that last season.
Yeah, I started it, but I haven't finished it yet.
But yeah, what I was saying is like I hope, because like this whole Snyder movement was so huge, but it took a while for them to really listen. Really listen. Like, and now they're listening.
Took a while to get me to listen.
Yeah. So, but if the movie comes out and it's good, right? I hope the takeaway is not, oh, let's listen to the fans all the time. Hope the takeaway is, let's look at this. Because, again, the first smart thing I thought about when you're reading this whole story about the Snyder Cut is, the executives didn't just go, "Oh, it's big. Let's just release this thing." They say, "You know what? This movement is getting big. Let's actually take a look at this movie and see if it's any good." Right? And they may be lying or whatever, but according to the Hollywood Reporter or whoever was reporting on this thing, is that they first thing they did was, "Hey Zach, this thing is pretty big, but what do you think of releasing this thing on this platform? Would you be down for that?" And he said, "Hey, man, anywhere I could put this movie, I don't care." It's like, all right. So tell you what, I'm gonna come down there and see the movie. And they brought a bunch of execs down there. They brought the Time Warner guys down there, or sorry, AT&T Warner Media guys. It's no longer Time Warner. They brought the HBO Max guys there, and then they brought the Warner Brothers guys there. They all watched this thing, and I guess they loved it. And the funny thing about it is that, according to sources, is that the version that he showed a 2.5 hour version to the Warner's execs before the Joss Whedon version came out, and they liked that version. The only thing they didn't like about it was that it was dark, and they wanted to go light like Marvel did. So that was one of the things that they decided to course correct again because of the fans. Now, here's the thing. They made a decision, all right, we haven't seen this thing yet. We don't want to release a dog shit on there just because fans are calling for it. So let's watch it, right? This is what I want going forward. Don't listen to the idiots who's talking about, "I hate Rose Tico. I hate her," and then give her a smaller role, even if you said, "Oh, her scenes with Carrie Fisher didn't work." It's like, get the fuck out of here. That's all bullshit, right? You just wanted to placate the fans who didn't like Rose Tico, which I didn't think she was a bad character, but whatever, right? And then sort of give us a cookie cutter Rise of Skywalker. What else did they mess up? Like, they listened to the fans and they kind of just like shit the bed on because they were trying to placate fans. I think was there something else? Oh well, I mean, obviously the DCEU, right? Like, yeah. Let's go lighter.
Although arguably, it's a weird thing because they've gotten success, at least critically and commercially to a certain degree, with the DCU by basically doing what Zack Snyder was trying to do,
right?
Which is just let directors and creators make their movie,
regardless.
And they got all those Oscars with Joker and like $1 billion, and if not financial, then at least the critical success of Birds of Prey, which has an insane Rotten Tomatoes score for what that's worth, whatever.
Yeah.
But the few people, not to overstate that it did poorly, but because it did okay, it did fine, it did better than Fantastic Four, and its run was cut short, by the movie theater shutting down. But that movie, everyone who saw it did like it,
right?
So it's a case where moving forward with the Suicide Squad, having those connections to Birds of Prey will, work in its favor. For the people who saw that movie, who were only Birds of Prey fans, who maybe weren't interested. But that movie would not have happened without Margot Robbie being, her production company made that movie, which also works well financially because it means the costs are split.
Yeah.
But and Joker was written and directed by Todd Phillips, or did he just direct it? But it was like, it's his movie.
Yeah.
And
the irony is when Zach was on board and he's making these movies, he was setting things up for a greater DCEU, right? He was like, he was doing the thing that DC wanted in the first place. It was just more subtle about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was doing it, but the point is that he made, he was trying to make his auteur movie, his big epic, that granted he probably was spending a little bit too much money on, and was maybe throwing out Warner Brothers notes, which is his prerogative, but that ultimately the behind the scenes on that is so crazy that anyone who thinks they know how it went down, it's just like they don't know how it went down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm waiting for the documentary on that one.
There's so many variables in there that, especially, people who talk about the way, his daughter's death factored into that. It's like, is this a conversation you want to have? Because it's gonna get real tasteless real fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's things that even unless you are an investigative journalist
Mm-hmm.
really writing a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't want to gossip or speculate about that on the forums,
Yeah, yeah,
like you don't know how it went down, and you're just you're making the whole thing worse,
yeah,
and you're making the movement, and it is a movement, look bad.
yeah, yeah.
Like that movement got more attention, more positive attention from raising money, raising $150,000 for suicide awareness charities than they do for their weird gatekeeping that you see on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That is just like, oh, that's the icky stuff.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like a bunch of whiny entitled babies
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
versus using the hashtag to do good in this miserable world.
Right.
But yeah, he was making an auteur-driven movie, and they didn't want that. But their response to the falling apart of the DCEU was to make these auteur-driven movies.
Yep.
That granted, they cost a lot less. Joker cost what, 50 million?
Yeah, but I think Aquaman was an expensive movie.
I think Aquaman and Wonder Woman came out before Justice League.
Yeah.
But Aquaman was already in develop. Like that was a ship. That ship had already left the port.
It was sort of like linked to what Snyder was doing, I guess. But I think they changed it once they realized that they had to course correct. I think they started to change little things here and there.
Shazam was 2019, right?
Yeah, so Shazam, but Shazam, I guess, is a smaller movie comparatively, I guess.
Like that ship had already left the port, but it was already going to be counter programming anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was going to be their Ant-Man.
Yeah.
To be like, all right, now that you've gotten all these epics, let's have something a little more chill.
So I guess we should probably wrap.
Yeah.
This
is an all-encompassing DC podcast.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, we pretty much covered everything in the death of the family before we switch topics. But one thing I do want to say about Death of the Family before we go here is I like the ending as well too, where that he couldn't identify a certain toxin that was used in their blood until later on when he finds out it was like a hanium or something, but they're the periodic symbol for them is HA. Ha.
And it's the Joker doing a last made you look.
Yeah, right.
Like your shoelaces are untied.
So it's like, again, calling back to every sort of writer has their definitive story, Joker story, where at the end they give like a little, Joker has a last life kind of thing where, for instance, Alan Moore's is Joker actually makes Batman laugh. I think I don't remember what Grant Morrison did with his Joker, but for this one, it has the whole symbol of the ha, and it was pretty creative.
That was really good. And the Fly, which is kind of the arc.
Yeah.
Throughout, I'm wondering if there's more symbolism behind the Fly.
Probably. There's probably because you saw it so much, right? You saw it on his face. Maybe it represents decaying of a relationship where it's like it's time because they did fully open up about what they are, right? What the truth is about the relationship is, right? Joker has his idea of what he thinks Batman is, and he basically lays it out on the table like, the reason you don't want to kill me is because you love me, bro. And then Batman lays it out on the table and says, bro, like, I'm not even scared of you as Bruce Wayne because at the end of the day, you don't care, alright? I basically put myself out there and you didn't care, so you're just basically seeing one aspect of me. But yeah, it's a pretty cool story. I liked it on that front. All right, so I guess the next, what are we going to read next? The next...
We've got a trio of standalone issues.
Well, yeah. Let me see. We're going to read issue 18. Well, these aren't standalone. Well, the next, so it's 18 is a standalone. Then there's Nowhere Man, part 1 and part 2, which is 19 and 20. And then there's, I guess the backup issues on those are Ghost Lights part 1 and 2. And then Ages, which is Batman Annual 2. I don't know. Is it Batman Annual 2 in your list?
Let me check. Again, what a hassle this app is to navigate.
Yeah, so, and then I guess the next, not this one coming, but the next one will be the start of 0 Year.
Well, I gotta close the app and open it up again.
Yeah,
It's a little finicky. But it's okay. It's only, what, $60 a year or whatever?
Oh, by the way, do you think they'll fold DC Universe into HBO Max? Because there's so much streaming service that Warner Brothers alone has, right?
I think for HBO Max's sake, they should.
Because they have HBO Go, which is what you have when you already have the cable service. There's HBO Now, which is the cord cutting version of HBO. Then there's
I think they're gonna fold all of them together.
yeah,
because
they should.
HBO Max, like, yeah, the Snyder Cut is a good thing to have, but like, what do they have? They got nothing.
Right. They should just fold.
They got Friends, and that's it.
Yeah.
What else is on HBO?
Oh, I think no, that's NBC, right? The Office is an NBC thing.
Yeah, The Office is NBC.
What did you say they have?
Friends.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, Friends.
They've got Friends. They've got like a cool new Looney Tunes thing that I've heard is very good. But really not a lot.
Yeah, I did see the trailer.
And like HBO Max, DC Universe, and like DC Universe shows are already gonna be on HBO Max now.
Yeah.
Just fold them together with HBO Now or HBO Go. Maybe boost that as justification to boost the price.
Disney did that, right? Disney basically not folded, but they offered a bundle for Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so issue 18, 19, and 20. And then annual number 2, for me it's listed as part of 0 Year, but I can, jump ahead.
Or let me see. If it's part of 0 Year, then we can just go make our annual the part of our 0 Year conversation.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do 18 to 20, which is a short, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, and then 0 Year is going to be extra long because it's also got those villain number 1s.
They're not a part of mine. Oh, okay. Actually, no. Well, I do have
23.1.
I have 23.2 here, but it's like way after the 0 Year. I'll see. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge. We'll cross that bridge. Like you have 23.1 and 2, and what do you have for point 1 for point issues? It's all just 23. It's all 20.
Yeah, the 23 came out on 8/14, and then a month later was 23.1 Batman featuring Joker.
Did Scott write any of those? Because basically we're still doing Scott Snyder's Batman, right?
Andy Kubert wrote the Joker one.
Yeah.
But Scott Snyder wrote the Riddler one.
Which is why this is including in my book.
Okay. Yeah. And Frank Thierry wrote the Penguin one. And then Bane is written by Peter Tomasi. Yeah. Who, I know that name.
I just mentioned Peter Tomasi. He's the one who wrote Batman and Robin. And he's one of the writers on Green Lantern, the older Green Lantern, which is part of the Jeff Johns run, which is dope. For, I guess, when the bridge comes, I guess for the sake of this conversation, the podcast, we'll just cover the 23.2. You can, I guess, read on your own the other point issues, but I guess
I'll bring up anything relevant that happens in them.
Yeah, so for this, because it says we're dealing with Scott Snyder's Batman, I think the reason why it's included in this book is because it's relevant to his story. But yeah, so for next week, 18 and 20, and then we'll start the following week, annual 2 to Batman 23.
Cool.
Yeah. Right. So that brings us to the end. It was a good conversation. We talked comics, we talked a little bit of movies, but it's all DC. But yeah, so if you can follow us on Twitch, follow that channel, and we'll be gaming a lot. I'm gonna actually start gaming a lot. I don't know what I'm gonna be playing. Oh, I know what I'm gonna be playing. I think I'm gonna actually start the Kingdom Hearts series.
Oh, nice. One of the greats.
What I'm actually playing right now, but since I already started, it's probably too late to stream it, is Nier Automata. I'm catching up on that game. It's a pretty good game, man. Because I've been playing too much Final Fantasy. Including now, I started another hard mode. Believe it or not.
I haven't played in a few days, but I'm very near the end. I'm only a few trophies away from my platinum.
Yeah, so I'm still addicted to that game, but I have to use Nier Automata to kind of soften that.
Wean yourself off.
Yeah, it's my nicotine patch right now.
While still getting your Square Enix anime photo.
Exactly. So I think for when I do start streaming, I'm actually gonna, because I have them all here, so I might as well jump in.
Yeah, nice. I think I'll be streaming after I finish Final Fantasy VII. I think before I jump into the original Final Fantasy VII, which is going to be my next big thing, I think I'm going to play God of War, finally.
I have that too to play. Jesus.
God of War 2018. I haven't played it.
I actually did start OG Final Fantasy as well too. I did start it, and I got up to we're about to hit the second bombing run.
Yeah. And I have to warn you, anyone who watches me play Final Fantasy VII, I will be dramatically reading every voice, but I promise it won't get racist.
But it's funny you mention it. I now reading the characters in my head now, they sound like their remake counterpart.
It's gonna be really hard not to go ham with Barrett, but I'm gonna do it.
Like Jessie sounds like Erica, what's her face, the person who does the Jessie voice. And then, you know what's funny? When I first heard Tifa, good, because in the trailer you don't really hear it because there's so much stuff going on. Even when she said "my turn," it's like overpowered by the music and explosion, so you don't really get to focus on her voice. But when I did finally play it and I'm hearing her voice, at first, I gotta say, it didn't match what I thought Tifa would sound like. Like, I thought Tifa would sound a little bit more anime girlish, like a lighter tone. Like, her voice sounded a little bit too, I guess, deeper than I thought it would have been. But then, I guess, I can't imagine not hearing Tifa sound like that. It's just, it feels perfect, almost. But like I said, it took a while to get used to. Like, even if you watch Advent Children, they got Rachel Lee Cook, I think, to do the voice. And even her, she had a more lighter tone to her voice as Tifa. So, yeah, it took a while. She sounded a little bit more sultrier than I thought she would. But, yeah. So that's the plan. So follow the channel. Subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And follow me on Pop Culture Galaxy. That's my Instagram. And Art Marky Tundra if you're following me on Twitter. Where can they reach you, Zach?
You can find me on Twitter at my name, Zach Wojner. And you can read my work on ScreenRant.com.
All right. So see you guys next week as we continue our Batman run. So until next time, folks. Peace.
Indeed.